Okay, so welcome to the Wisdom in Art, the podcast where we explore the profound life lessons hidden within the stories that we love, whether it's movies, music, and books. I'm one of the hosts. My name is Marion, and this is
Carmela Tunzi.
yeah. And in each episode, we will journey through the narratives that shape our understanding of the world and ourselves through the arts. From the heartwarming tales that inspire us to chase our dreams to the poignant lyrics that we are all familiar with that resonate with our struggles. We will uncover the wisdom embedded in the art that we consume. We will discuss iconic films, unforgettable songs, and transformative literature, diving into the themes and messages that leave a lasting impact through the eyes of NLP and hypnosis. So join us as we chat with authors, fellow enthusiasts, and who knows who will show up as special guests through time. We will share our insights and personal stories about how these artistic expressions have influenced our lives and our clients' lives. Whether you're a cinephile, a music lover, or a bookworm, there's something here for everyone. So let's settle in and discover the lessons that art teaches us about life. So, Carmela, who are we?
Wow, what an amazing introduction. I'm so excited to share this journey with you. We are two trainers with the Master Hypnotist Society. I currently have two locations in the Los Angeles area, um, and super excited to kind of share some of the experience and wisdom that we've learned being with the Master Hypnotist Society and NLP and hypnosis and these themes that are currently running in our everyday movies and shows and things that we're watching. Um, Pass it back to you.
Yeah, and my offices are also in Southern California. I'm in San Diego, and I have one office in San Diego, which is awesome. And I have been working with the Master Hypnotist Society for about 18 years now, which is amazing and stunning, and I still can't believe it. It has been an incredible gift to be a school owner, which means that we teach and train and certify people to become hypnotists themselves, whether for a profession or for personal use, which is awesome. So that's what we do and why we are doing this podcast. And we are so excited to start off with something that we both are chatting side by side over the last couple of weeks. And we went, oh my gosh, we have to do a podcast and we have to talk about this show. And
So
so
much fun.
I know it's going to be so much fun. This is such an amazing, fun show. And so, Carmela, what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, we're going to talk about this super exciting show that's on Netflix now called Nobody Wants This. And I'll let you describe and start with the actual title and what's happening with that.
Yeah, so Nobody Wants This is Kristen Bell. And she's so adorable in this. She's adorable in everything, you know, that's just who she is. She's got that persona. And Nobody Wants This. First off, as a coming from a hypnosis and NLP perspective, what comes to mind when you think of the anchors that are within just the title? What comes to mind for you?
But seeing that, I was like, what do you mean nobody wants this? Maybe I do want it. Or oppositional. Yeah, immediately it kind of, ignites something of curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. That is one of the cool things about knowing hypnosis and NLP is when somebody talks about the hypnotic language of that title in itself, when somebody uses things like no, shouldn't, can't, don't, nobody. Those type of anchor words make people want to do those things. So when it says nobody wants this, it almost comes across as a challenge. Well, why wouldn't I want this? Let me
Exactly.
find out why I wouldn't want this, you
Exactly.
know?
Exactly.
And so I think that is one of the draws. Not only is the acting and the writing fantastic, and the stories and the lessons, and we're going to go into that in a second, but the title itself initially draws you in because it goes, well, prove to me why I wouldn't want this. I need to find out. and be in the in crowd and find out why nobody would want this. So it was very clever, whoever designed that first tagline of that, because it initially draws you in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like in every situational comedy, they're always going to start with an amplified kind of problem. So in our training, we know this to be true, whether it is taking in a client or doing marketing. There's always going to be this initial, what we call salting of the cut. And the people that wrote this story are just genius the way they've structured it. And that's some of the things that we'll be sharing with you all, because we do have an excellent marketing experience as well that we can incorporate in the teaching and kind of share as we kind of unfold and uncover what is happening. In season one, they're talking about a certain situational mindset that I think currently and now times is my opinion seems to be extremely problematic. And so as you kind of dive into the first story, you're seeing, they're discussing in their podcast ironically, the things that they're struggling with. So it's very current with what's happening in the world.
Yeah. And what's really fun is of course, they make it really lighthearted, right? But they really delve into the different avenues of how we self-sabotage ourselves in relationships, the different things that we may be nitpicky on that are irrational, just because it has nothing to do with the person. It has to do with the challenges that we have with ourselves and how we don't necessarily want to be perceived. And it is the moment to kind of take that self-reflection of like, oh, where have I done this? Or where have I seen friends do this and it sabotaged the relationship? Even though it could have been a good relationship, whether it's a friendship or a business relationship or even a romantic relationship. But that first episode really starts off really well because it shows how those sabotaging things set in this rotation is they really kind of go through, oh, I had this with this person and that with that person. And it shows how we sabotage ourselves in relationships.
Yes. So, and once we're introduced to that, of course, we're hooked because we want to see how they're going to solve this issue. And so then it unfolds in the next episode. And so many wonderful things that happen. I'll let you introduce kind of the theme with episode 2.
Yeah. So diving into episode 2 is very cool because it shows in what we teach, what's called the satir model of leveling. And when you level, it allows your defenses to fall. And what's really cool about it is it really opens up and makes you as a person become more relatable and easier to listen and learn from. And it allows the space of the other people to feel more comfortable and confident in the things that they're going through. And so you see that with the rabbi really recognizing, hey, maybe I'm not opening up enough. And as our mentor says, is falling on the sword and saying where he's maybe messed up and maybe been in the wrong, and how things have maybe gone horribly wrong to like really wrong to just a little wrong, all of the avenues in between. And so the rabbi really goes, that was a good relationship and things were good, but in these things, I did things maybe not right, and maybe I'm responsible too. And so when you start taking responsibility of what happens in your relationships, also that it's not just pushing the blame onto somebody else, that you're able to kind of level. And when he was able to level with himself and with his people that he's there to counsel, they were able to level with themselves. And so that was really, really cool to see. What was your take on that episode?
It was perfectly said. And maturity comes from growth and learning, and him giving himself the understanding and flexibility showing that he's flexible. We also know that the person with the most flexibility is the leader of the interaction, which he is the rabbi. So he's showing his wisdom by showing that falling on his sword becomes his, his maturity level. And so he's able to take the lead. And even without too many spoiler alerts here, by the way, he's able to engage with Christian Bell's character and kind of get her into a place of curiosity because he's not too rigid in his view. And so I love that example of satire and leveling and showing the flexibility in that certain episode.
Yeah. And so leading into episode 3, I know we're kind of moving through these pretty fast, but we want to get through all of them. And there's 10 episodes and it's so good. So Carmela, what was your take on episode 3?
Well, we're talking about toxic relationships in episode 3. So the thing that stuck out to me was don't be a martyr. Don't martyr yourself. We talked, actually, our trainer mentor, Scott, talked to us just yesterday about not needing the approval of certain groups, not throwing yourself under a bus in order to become part of the group because you want to be loved or accepted. So that was a really big theme with toxic relationships in episode 3. And that's my biggest take from that. Of course, how do you not be a martyr is something that perhaps you need to model if you've never had that example. These unconscious things that happen with us sometimes we're not even aware of it. So they're bringing that to the forefront.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I took on it also is I know for me in the past, as I have used and found myself in relationships where I was doing things that were completely out of character for me, that weren't, I was listening to the music I wouldn't typically listen to, or dressing ways that I wouldn't normally dress, just to fit into that person's world. Like I was losing myself in that. And I know there's so many people that do that. And I know that that kind of is the theme for episode 3 is don't lose yourself in the relationship. Don't change yourself. You are enough with who you are, and somebody will love you for that, and somebody will respect you for that. But you have to respect you first and setting the right boundaries in your relationship. So there's so many amazing things in that 3rd episode, and from the martyring to the boundaries to loving yourself and trusting yourself and finding the space to have that other person come into your life.
Right.
Yeah. So going on to episode 4 is really fun. And so I know we're not getting into a lot of details because we don't want to give a lot of spoiler alerts, because you should all watch this yourself because it is that good. But episode 4, what was your thoughts on that?
It's about people wanting to sabotage you and, the need to be right. You don't want to be right. And, again, without giving too many spoiler alerts, you might even think that you're correct, that your opinion is 100% true when you haven't backed up and seen the full picture of what's really happening. These are really important themes. Like when we're working with clients, a lot of times people believe their own story or believe other people what they're saying to them, and they don't have all the pieces to the puzzle. So they really do a good job with showing that in episode 4, I think.
Yeah, that's definitely the route that I was noticing, is it kind of went from self-sabotage in that first episode to episode 4, noticing the other sabotage. So where you're getting sabotage from the people around you, and how they're picking out things that maybe aren't realistic or real, but you have to determine in a respectful, mature, responsible way what is okay for you, like setting your own boundaries with those new or old relationships and going, okay, is their information right, or do I need to take this with a grain of salt? And it really just depends on the situation. And I understand from the show itself is the family was really just trying to protect. And out of love and care and respect, they were just really trying to protect. And a lot of times we get lost in that. And we may give up on our dreams, our jobs, our own friends and relationships because of the influence of others, and a lot of different feelings and emotions, whether it's not wanting to let them down or not wanting to let go of that love or connection or whatever it is. There's a lot of reasons why we allow that sabotage in our lives, right?
The need to be needed can be evil.
Oh, absolutely. That is absolutely true. And that is even a need to be needed by our own families or
Right.
to be needed by our own friends. It
We could
doesn't.
probably do a whole podcast just on that topic.
Oh, man. Oh, there's so many references that we could use
Yes.
in movies and songs that we could access. And maybe we will have a theme like that in the future. So that's kind of a fun one. We'll keep
Anybody
that
have
in.
a story to share? Reach out to us.
Yeah. Yes, definitely reach out to us if you have a story to share with that. So, oh my gosh, I think we're going to go to the family roles in episode 5.
Yes. Well, I mean, if I was to actually replay that whole episode, what to me comes across to me is just the importance of the structure of family. He had the father, and these are not the main characters. The father is, in a situation where he was going to have some me time, and then, his daughter came up with a problem, and she needed help, and you could see a little resistance from him at first, but just taking 5-10 minutes or whatever it took for him to just be a parent and not a friend to his daughter change the trajectory of what happened. And it just showed family values. And I really appreciated that and the structure of what his daughter was able to get back from that moment in time, that he, kind of pushed aside his needs and took care of his daughter and family first, and just good values.
Yeah, absolutely. Great reference of, even though as parents, because I'm a parent of 2, there's times where we're like, I just need a moment, seriously. But it may not be how we want it to go. And learning to be flexible and learning to be who they need is huge. It's a huge maturity and learning. And I know that being an NLP and hypnotist, it really does help to have a structure of how to do that effectively, to step into that mature role and be able to step into the roles that we do need to play in our own lives. There's a lot of cool tools that we teach to our clients, and being able to see that on the screen played out is very, very cool.
Yep.
So jumping into episode 6, this is your favorite episode ever.
I can't.
I want you to run with this.
Okay, awesome. I can't tell you how much I love this episode. They're talking about the ick, and I will back up and say a little bit about working with the Master Hypnotist Society was my introduction to this topic. What they're talking about is the need on the woman's end to have a challenge and opportunity in the dynamics with the women role. So in this scene, without giving away too many spoilers, and I'll back up and talk a little bit how this actually works and shows up in real life. But in the scene, they're just about at a space and time where there's sort of like a real commitment happening. And without giving too much away, he shows up, and all of a sudden you see this look overcome her, and she is just, for lack of a better word, grossed out. And so she's taken back, she's sharing with her sibling, and I can't help but laugh because this is real. So what we understand is in the women dynamic, we were actually, it's a biological thing. We're wired to select the mate that can deal with our, excuse my French, crap the most. And once there's an actual commitment met, it's almost like if the challenge is gone, then the woman actually switches off. So that's what they're addressing here. And I've never seen it shown in movies so clearly. In fact, I even have clients that are beginning to show up. I signed up a male client this week saying that his girlfriend told him that he gave her the ick. So this is real. And I might add one more thing. The first time I was introduced to this, if it's okay for me to name drop, was taught by my colleague, I'm proud to say, Julie Nice, who's been on the Dr. Phil show. And she was demonstrating this in an actual advanced training, showing how if a man doesn't stand up to the woman and become like just solid like a tree, supportive, not a jerk, but just have that wisdom, that guidance, and a deep understanding of how this works, he will become a pushover. And then the woman loses her attraction. It's an attraction strategy that is so important. And so the fact that they're doing this in current times and showing how this works is amazing to me.
Yeah, and the ick, definitely, I know it's a huge topic right now, and is learning about how women respond to the ick. And the ick could be triggered by so many different things. It could be triggered by if you're hydrated, really, if you're eating the right foods, and if your hormones are correct, if you are on birth control or not. There's so many different things that we are taught with our medical staff here of how a woman's thought process is controlled by what is going on in their life. So the stress at work affects hormones. Sleep affects hormones. And they could be fine one day and then a switch will hit the next morning when they wake up and things will be completely different. Just because of that little bit of fluctuation. And I know we've probably all experienced a moment of ick with somebody where we're like, just, stop, just be quiet, or I need to take a nap and get over it.
The biggest occurrence of this for me had me feeling guilty. And so that's another point that I want to make with anybody listening. There's nothing wrong if that happens. It's how we're wired. And so we want to vaccinate against that for women that have gone through this and don't understand what's happening. It's a normal thing. It's supposed to be that way.
Yeah. And then building the attraction strategy again of how do you want it to go, and giving the person the right tools to build the give and take in that relationship. And I know Julie has done some amazing relationship retreats and things, and taught many of us on how to build that give and take in a relationship for long-standing relationships. So there's a lot of cool things within the Master Hypnotist Society that we have taught and can continue to teach about how men and women build relationships. And so, like you said, it's such a great episode that maps out just one of the tiny things that that can go wrong in a relationship. Just a moment of wrong, not the entire thing wrong. And we learn that throughout the entire episodes. The season 1, excited there's a season 2, but we'll get to that in a second. And so going on to episode 7.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on that? This is where it can kind of get
this is
dicey.
really juicy. It gets a little juicy here.
Yeah.
Esprit de corps is the main theme. So if you have a common enemy, and these groups can be formed just based on that. And so there's like an energy behind that actually, if you're aware of it, you know that that's what's happening. People like to join people just because they hate the same thing. And so in this episode, it's a group of women, and we all know what can happen if you have a group of women together. And we have this main character that's trying to be loved, right? The need to be needed is there. However, she really, really found an amazing way to kind of break up those patterns. Another NLP understanding, a presupposition is, learning how to interrupt the pattern through rapport. And she finds a way to build rapport with each and every one of those women. So with the right rapport, you can lead people just about anywhere. And so I love that demonstration of that specifically in that episode.
Yeah, and of course, rapport comes from hopefully a place of good intentions. And Kristen Bell definitely has the good intentions, as she wants his friends to become her friends so that it makes their relationship easier and better and more enjoyable, right?
Right.
And so, of course, I know that there's um, maybe people who have had bad introductions to rapport and how and leading and all of that, but know that this comes from a good intention spot. And
Yes.
so knowing that your rapport comes from good intentions is huge. That
Right.
is step number one. And her heart is really there of like, I really care about this guy. I love this guy. And I want this to go as easy as possible. And
Right.
she really becomes friends with all these people and really starts building those relationships. And it was really cool to see is, even though they started off in a rocky spot, she was able to um, connect to these people on their level. And
Yes.
that's key is when you're building rapport is making sure that you're building the rapport with each individual level because everybody's at a different place. You can't just have rapport with one giant group. It's building the rapport with those individuals on a
Absolutely.
one-on-one basis. So they did a great job
Yes.
showing all of that.
Yes.
So, episode 8. This is where we get into the episode about the box. Okay.
Yes.
So, the box, the question is, would you go through it? I put myself in that position is I know in the past, I know I probably would have been challenged. I would have been challenged 10 years ago on should I go through this box?
Mm-hmm.
And it's stuff of past relationships that she found in his house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would have been challenged. I would have been like, oh, I need to know more about him and his past and blah, blah, blah to understand him now. I would have
Mm-hmm.
justified it somehow, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now, going through the trainings and being in our group for, 18 years now, I have gotten to a place where I'm like, his past is his past, and I don't need to know any of that.
Right.
He doesn't need to know my stuff
Right.
because I am who I am, and he loves me for who I am now.
Yeah.
And his past stuff, that's a different phase of his life.
Yeah.
And it's okay to have the maturity to let him have that space. And I think that it showed that really well of the challenge and the mental tug of war of do I go through it? Do I not go through it? What do I do? And the pressure that she got from the other family members of like, yeah, do it, go through it. You want to go through it.
Yeah.
And knowing that it didn't really matter in the big picture anyways.
Well, the way you describe it, even within yourself, it's a beautiful example of maturity. And, once you go through that, like a bell curve of change, you don't really care. And the acceptance is the freedom. Once you accept everybody has a past, and if we don't, really care, the reason that they're there to begin with is because of that past, and then focusing on now and what's actually happening in the current event. So again, great job with the show. This is real, right? I'm sure there's a lot of people that once they confront that are curious and they want to know, and they spend a lot of time on that, wanting to know about each other. And again, with no giving away of the show, but there's a lot of that, and especially in this episode, because it's real, it's human, and so they're touching upon the dynamics of what the reality is.
Yeah. And they did like, I know we keep saying this, they did such a great job
Yeah.
showing how the mental struggles that we have within ourselves in
Mm-hmm.
relationships.
Yeah.
There's so many great things about this season.
Yeah.
So I want you to fill in episode 9.
Don't be self-righteous. It's literally what I have. So it's so awesome. There's certain groups and tribes and families that have these dynamics and these rules. And, if you don't fit into this certain thing, then you are judged or perceived. And so they really touch heavily on this. This is biracial, if I can say, kind of show, cultural, maybe, and they have their dynamics within it. And there's this pecking order that we were talking about the other day, that wanting to be approved of, and all of this dynamic is happening, and it's all a lie. It's all fake. And they're showing that with black and white, self-righteousness. So, there's a scene with a mother-in-law, and I won't be giving away anything here because you really got to see it. And just to show how much of the actual thing was just hypocrisy. It's just not real. And so having, again, this need to be approved with the group is kind of like a common theme within the show. And so kind of debunking that, and it'll be really fun to see how they keep unfolding that topic throughout the theme of this show.
Yeah, and I really think Kristen Bell did a great job, and the writers, whoever they are, fantastic, bravo, good job. That the moment where she put this mother-in-law on the pedestal, and then it got crushed down, and then she was really like, oh, wow, this person is just human.
Yes.
And the way it played off was very well done. And it is kind of accepting that moment of like, we're all human. We all make mistakes. Nobody is better than anybody else. And we all have our unique gifts and our unique purpose. And thinking that we are better than somebody else is just silly.
Self-righteousness, no.
No. It will destroy your goals, your dreams, and your future. So let's not do that. Let's toss that out.
Yes.
So, okay. So we are going to wrap up with the final episode. So we're going to talk about episode 10 and maybe a little bit of the whole big picture of the season and what we're hoping maybe for next season. I don't know if we'll get into that, but episode 10. What are your thoughts on episode 10?
So here's my takeaway. There was a certain amount of leveling, again, common theme, speaking the truth of what is really happening. What do they need? What is the clarity of on both the characters and the priorities and the choices? And so I guess in a way, reverse engineering, like, what is their goal? Why are they showing up? The theme is relationships. What is their relationship with their life and other people? Understanding that, coming to a decision and prioritizing. And so this is a perfect example, the beginning of dovetailing an outcome. What will work for me? What will work for the other person? And of course, there's going to be a season 2. So we're on a cliffhanger a little bit with what's actually going to happen. But that's what the common theme is with that I saw from that particular episode.
Yeah, and like you had said, is really going back to what we talked about before with the satir model and leveling, is they each leveled with themselves and did self-reflection, took a step back and went, what do I really want? And beyond that, what do I need in a relationship? What do I need in my future? And they both came to a point of, this is what it's going to take for me to know that this is going to work. And they laid it out, and they were clear and concise with what they wanted and what they needed. And then they had to make decisions on what worked for them, each individually, for their futures. Like, does it fit? Does it not fit? And it was really, really cool to see how much that we personally need to level about our own lives in so many different ways of, what is really going on? Do we have permission within ourselves to really say what we want and need?
Yes.
because it was so well laid out in that
Yeah.
episode of like, just say it, it'll be okay.
Yes. And we want more.
Yes, absolutely. And when they say nobody wants this, we want this, and we
We
want
definitely want this. And we want to see
and
what's going to happen.
yeah,
And I'm sure we'll be
absolutely.
hit with a whole bunch of other challenges in season
Yeah,
2.
yeah. And it was very well cast, very well written, and I am glad that we were able to look at it from a NLP and hypnosis point of view, um, from our reading list, from our movie list, from our Zooms that we do with our team, and all of the trainings that we do as in our trainer trainings, all the advanced trainings that we do, really helps us be able to see things from these points of view. And I know that maybe you just enjoyed the show, which is
Yeah.
awesome because
Yeah.
it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
But to be able to take it to the next level and go, okay, what am I watching?
Yes.
And why is it that important? Why did I enjoy it so much? So that's what we hope to do, is to kind of break down the movies and the songs and the books that have influenced us in big ways and little ways, that we use in our trainings, that we help our clients and our students learn from, on how to change their own lives. Because not everybody enjoys being told what to do, right?
It's true. This is a whole other theme.
Yeah, definitely. And so I think that over the next few episodes that we're going to really work through teaching from the perspective of the arts and the media and the entertainment that we consume, so that it does take the pressure off of the learning,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Love it. Super
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
I'm
So
going to
if
save
you
you
have
guys.
any of these experiences, if you
Yes.
have anything to add to these stories, just let us know. We'd
Yeah.
love to
Reach
hear your
out.
story. We'd
Yeah.
love to hear what your take on the episodes, or the whole show, really, what you're looking forward to season 2. So we're super excited to take this journey with each one of you. And I am so grateful to you, Carmela, for jumping on this bandwagon of fun.
Back at you.
We're
Very
going to have a
fun.
lot of fun with
Yeah.
it over the next few episodes. So, yeah, so I look forward to talking to you guys all soon, and look forward to learning about another show or movie. We're going to figure out which one we're going to hit up next. So, if you have any suggestions on what you would love for us to break down from a hypnosis or NLP perspective, let us know. Right in the comments. We'd love to hear maybe something we've seen or listened to, maybe something we haven't. So let's take a look at it, and we'll go on this journey all together.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.